Well, hello everyone. Welcome to Freeman Metalworks. Welcome to North Idaho and mid-December. This video that I'm putting together for the channel is actually meant to commemorate 1 year of being on the YouTubes. And I was thinking of doing something really special, some sort of commemorative something or other. But actually a different idea came to mind. And I want to credit Art by Adrock for something that he had posted on his community. I think this went all the way back to May, when he was talking about a channel and possibly various channels that were actually ripping off a couple of the big boys, his channel for sure, and Big Stack D from Australia, channels that I have routinely watched and actually was using as I was deciding to kind of get a handle, get an idea if I wanted to do this metal casting thing. Anyway, his concern was that there were some channels that were ripping them off, and I'm not disputing his claim at all. Some of the evidence that he supported, it was pretty solid for sure. But it did get me thinking. I see a parallel in music. Let me explain this thing in music first. Led Zeppelin took a lot of heat, and rightfully so, for doing covers of songs or grabbing chunks from this song or that song and making it their own, and then of course getting absolutely filthy rich in doing so. But not all of their work was original, at least not from the ground floor. But that's the way music is. There's a lot of sharing and a lot of taking and using and things like that. And that's what got me thinking that there's always going to be the person who comes up with the very first idea. And after they've come up with their idea, people are going to come along and start using that idea. And what happens is an entirely new genre of whatever the artistic expression is created. And I think those big guys, the big channels in the metal casting video world, have created a specific type of YouTube video. And so what I'm doing here to commemorate the first anniversary of my channel is to honor those that have come before me and have put together channels that a lot of us emulate. And so I think, for lack of a better term, this particular video are just a few ideas, a few tips for those of you who are thinking about starting your own metal melting channel. Here's some things that you may want to consider. But before we get into that, cue the music. First thing you need is some sort of intro. All right, after you're finished with your introduction, your channel needs something to cast. And it's not uncommon for those who have metal casting channels to 3D print something. So your metal casting video needs to show a 3D print or two. So let's go ahead and an example from one of mine. if you're noticing skips and jumps in this particular video, for some reason my GoPro is causing me all sorts of problems. It can't possibly be overheating, it seems to me. Alright, after your 3D print, you need to ram up your sand, and you need some flasks, you need your sand, either green sand, which is what I use, or some Petrobond, and then your video needs to show ramming that up and making your cope and drag. Common among metal casting channels, metal casting videos, is the ASMR feature. Now, sometimes this happens while the sand is being rammed. And basically, it's, from what I can gather, is just a bunch of noise, a bunch of sound, not a whole lot of talking. It's interesting, I think it was my son that said, hey, you know what, I noticed that the only real difference between your metal melting channel and other people's channel is that ASMR in the title. And it's true, my early videos, as you can see with a number of these clips, didn't have a lot of me talking. But anyway, here's an example of my take on the ASMR. That's not with the ramming of sand, but the sweeping of the floor and the cleanup. I missed a real opportunity here while filming this. I should have had a little table here, and I should have had some piping hot hot chocolate with some mini marshmallows in there. The next feature that a number of metal melting videos contains is a cameo appearance by the melter's pet. So here's some video footage of the often featured Anna, my Nebulung cat. This next feature of metal melting channels is showing the weather. Often that's panning up or panning side to side into the sky or around the surrounding landscape. Actually, this video kind of serves that same purpose. I think the clip that I have queued up for this is also a winter shot. Metal melters like their scales. It's not uncommon to see video makers use their scale. Either they're measuring out what it is they're about ready to melt, or they're actually measuring what they've just cast. Sometimes that's used to show how much slag they've pulled out, and we'll get to slag a little bit later. So here I am weighing a whole bunch of copper. If you're going to melt metal, you gotta heat up that furnace. And in order to heat up that furnace, you gotta light it. So your video's gotta include lighting that furnace. After you've lit the fire and you're melting some metal, which could range anywhere from 1200 degrees Fahrenheit, pretty darn close to 2000 degrees Fahrenheit, depending upon the metal that you're using, you're bound to start a fire somewhere. So, real good videos, real good metal melting videos, excuse me there, tripping over that alliteration. Metal melting videos, the good ones, have to show a fire somewhere, sometime. In case anyone's curious, yes, I am hesitant about pouring molten aluminum into a plastic 5-gallon bucket. My cheat sheet, my notes are getting a little bit wet here. We've had a number of snowstorms here in North Idaho over the last couple of weeks. This one's a little bit different. It's warmer, as you can tell, almost tropical. So the snow is quite a bit heavier as it's full of moisture. And of course I'm getting soaked as I film this. Another feature of many metal melting videos is to proudly proclaim that we are turning trash to treasure. And so far, everything that I've melted has been 100% recycled material. It's good to be working in a hobby where a lot of your material is somewhat free. So, Common among turning trash into treasure is aluminum cans. So here we go. Melt a bunch of aluminum cans, preferably by the hundreds. After you've turned a bunch of trash into treasure metal before you've cast it, you got to scrape off all that slag. That's all that nasty, dirty stuff that often comes along with material we are using that's being recycled. And aluminum cans probably have to be the worst, but not just them. Zinc can also be pretty dirty. In fact, I'm not a big fan of zinc because it is so dirty. And copper, although a lot of the copper that I've melted has actually been pretty clean. But anyway, you need to show some part in your video where you're scraping off that slag. Now, I inadvertently stumbled upon something else, and that is when you're scraping your slag, you need to dump it in a cast iron skillet. That was not the original intention of me getting the cast iron skillet. One of the first videos I had seen was someone actually casting a cast iron skillet. So my cast iron skillet originally was meant to be used in a mold. And then as I started seeing that other people were using it to put their slag in, of course I followed suit. So anyway, scrape that slag, dump it into a cast iron skillet. So you're filming your video. You've got your master copy, your 3D print, or whatever you're using for your mold. You've rammed up the sand. You've lit the furnace. You've put some metal in. You've scraped off the slag. After that, you got to actually do some pouring. So here's some pouring. Not one of my finer moments, with a whole bunch of lead. There's still some gunk in this. I just scraped it off too. Oh no! Bummer! So I'm looking up at the snow as it's coming down, and I see at the peak of my roof there's some yellow jacket nests I failed to attend to. I'll have to make certain and get those in the springtime because I'm sure if that was a good place for someone to start building their nests, there'll be more next year. Anyway, you've got your mold poured. You got to let that cool down a little bit. After you cool it down, you got to take your mold apart and see if whether or not you had a successful pour. after you've pulled your cast out of the sand, you gotta cool that hunk of metal down. You definitely don't want to be grabbing that thing with any bare hands, and I don't even recommend grabbing it with your welding gloves, because that'll get those things cooking as well. So you got to get this thing cooled down. Now, this would be another one of those, I would say, perhaps a little too copied. I stay away from putting my hot metal on ice. I have dropped some in the snow, and I think the clip I'm going to show is the from my very first video. Dropping the hot metal on the piece of ice has seemed almost proprietary to me, so I just put mine in a bucket of water. Several of us do. My unique spin was declaring that that was sizzle time. So here's some sizzle time in a snowbank, although I almost thought about a certain video where it was almost volcanic, almost something out of Yellowstone National Park. But here's from my very first published video.
All right, you can turn it off.
Some of the items you're going to cast need to be polished up, so you need to include that. I was finding that my videos were getting very, very long when I put the all of the polishing portion with all of the casting portion. So then for a bit I started splitting them up, and so I actually have them as two separate playlists. But here I am polishing one of my State of Idahos, and if I remember right, this was for a fundraiser at the school that I teach at here in North Idaho. So here I am doing a little polish on a chunk of aluminum in the shape of the State of Idaho. If you're somewhat regular on making these metal melting videos, eventually you're going to run across some of the special days we have here in the United States. And a number of video YouTube metal melting creators do seasonal items. And so here I am, something that I made for wifey for Valentine's Day. I was particularly happy with this. If I remember right, this was the first time I actually played around with brass. A number of metal casters are also stackers, so they have shelves where they stack all of their items, whether they're just casting ingots or whether they're casting actual items, and they keep track of their stuff on their shelf. I am not really a stacker, although I do have a display of my imperial ingots, and so I think the video that I'm showing here is my take, my attempt at displaying my items on a shelf. So make certain, man, this is incredibly awkward. Make certain that you have a portion of putting your items on the shelf. Well, there you go. Those are some items to get you started if you're going to be doing a metal melting channel on YouTube. There's a number of other items I had on my list that I just did not put down, and there may be a bunch that I've forgotten. So for those of you who are regular viewers of these metal melting channels, in the comments below, please tell me what I missed and what I needed to add. I'm just looking at my notes for one last time as I finish this thing up. Again, happy birthday to Freeman Metalworks. I want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed, especially students of mine, past and present. And already after this first year, I'm quite astounded by the success I've seen in amount of time viewed, the number of subscribers. It just started off humbly as just wanting this hobby, melting metal, to cast a Bronze Age sword, which I'm going to get back to in the at the beginning of the year here as I start off season 2, year 2 of this particular channel. Again, thanks a whole bunch, everyone, for being a part of all of this. It's been fun, caused some fires, had some concerns from time to time, and that makes it all the fun. Thanks a whole bunch for watching. Please like and subscribe and pass these things along. And if you find them even remotely entertaining, please share them around with others. And of course, blessings.